All right, my friends, so today we are looking at a budget lens. And we've done a video already on this lens in regards to video, but today we're going to be looking at some of the photos taken from it, because a lot of us want that 85mm lens, that portrait lens, but we don't want to spend that big dollar amount, especially when we have a nice budget-friendly camera. We don't need to be or want to be dropping, 2-3 times the amount on a lens. So we're looking at the photo quality today of the Viltrox 56mm APS-C 1.4 lens. Oh yeah. Okay, so we have some photos loaded up. We got about 10 photos, and I don't know if we're going to go through all of them today, but this isn't a scientific test by any means. We are looking at a budget lens. And because it's a budget lens, we don't necessarily or shouldn't have these expectations that it's going to be the same as if we spent, $1,000 to $2,000 on a portrait lens. So a few things. We took this with just, a lot of it was just natural lighting. A few of these photos are in JPEG, especially the first ones here, because they're in photos, and photos doesn't actually support the RAW that comes from the Sony ZV-E10 as of yet. So just kind of be aware of that. And we have, of course, some RAWs, but we'll show those in Lightroom. So we're not going to be doing big delves into, what the edge sharpness is and stuff like that, but a little bit more of what you can expect with a lens that really is very inexpensive and has autofocus. So it retains a lot of the features, or the majority of the features of the lenses that you could get from Sony at a fraction of the price. So here we go. First off, we have photos up here. So we got photos up here, and I was just taking a shot of this little fella here on the desk. This is right when I got it. So you'll see here I have it highlighted. It comes up, and it's funny. It shows it as a Sony ZV-E10, but it classifies it as a Sony E56mm 1.4, but it's not. It's a Viltrox. But here we go. We take a look at this one, and you can even see here, and these are untouched, of course, just processed from the ZV-E10. Like, you got really nice sharpness. And what's kind of funny is I believe it actually caught some eye detection because of little baby Groot here, which is kind of nice. But just lovely, lovely blur on the background, I think. And again, not a lot of light inside this office when we're shooting. And if we go to the next one too, same idea. I think this one's a little tiny bit sharper. Same thing. It says Sony, but it's the Viltrox 56mm 1.4. Again, you get beautiful forward blur and rear blur. And the sharpness in the center of this lens, and this one was shot. You can see it's shot here. It says 84mm because it's doing the conversion, right? At f2. And that the center sharpness is just fantastic. And in a lens like this, in my opinion, if you are going to get a little bit of degradation on the outside, it's probably not that big a deal anyway, because the chances that you're going to shoot, especially at like a 1.4 or an f2, and have everything perfectly in distance parallel to you, right? Because you're not going to be perfect. There's going to be things slightly off. You're probably going to get softening on the edges anyway, and that's, again, just because we're not shooting perfectly parallel to what we're shooting. So that one really good. If you want a portrait of little baby Groot, you're golden. Now, I went and took some photos of my daughter, and you can see here, and I'll give you some little befores and afters. See if I can find them here. We got a shot like this, again JPEG, and if we zoom in just a little bit here, you can just see, like, we got nice, the Sony ZV-E10, we had the eye focus on, it hit her eye perfectly. Everything inside here is really, like, I don't see any issues, especially on a lens that costs, you know, in around that $300 mark for a 1.4 with autofocus. Fantastic. And even in the corner here, you guys can see it. If you look down in the corner, I can't really zoom in too much more. That even the lines here, no distortion. It's, you know, there's no softening really going on there. You can say maybe there's a little bit of softening right there, but that's going to be probably just depth in general. So really nice blur on it, sharpening all through here. Again, shooting at f2. I'm very, very pleased with the look of that. And if we come to a different shot where we kind of do a little bit of processing on it, was it this one? I think this one we did a little bit of processing on it, just to bring up some of the colors. Still, like, it's, I don't see why anybody would complain with a output at this price point. Now, when we come into we'll get some other ones here. This one's here that was a little, we played around a little bit with this photo just to soften the skin, get a little bit more shadow information in there. But again, like that look in her eyes, like, it's so sharp in there. And even looking in a shot like this, for any kind of chromatic coloring, hard to see. We are getting some, you see the little green outline there around where it's blooming there in the bokeh, a little bit, but nothing that I would be too hard on. As well as you get a little bit of a green right there in her necklace that's coming through. But other than that, very, very pleased. Very pleased with that image. And that one there, just so you guys can see it, we actually shot that at f1.4 on this lens. So really, really nice. Now, we went outside, and so this is just all natural lighting. And here's a JPEG shot of my motorcycles. ISO 500, 84mm, again, f1.4. And the coloring and the sharpness, again, really nice. I just don't see why or how you could complain too much. Hit focus, dead in the center. Again, really sharp. Are we getting blur down here? Yeah, well, it's 1.4, so of course you're going to get some blur. But if you come down here parallel to the tire, even the tire really nice and sharp. No complaints on the tire. And if you look even at the leaves and the rocks in the corners here, in this side as well, which is again parallel to where the bike is standing, those are really sharp. So, you know, I think the quality that's coming out of this. Now, this isn't a image stabilized lens, so it is getting all of its speed, its shutter speed, due to the fact that it's a 1.4. So a shot like this, we did shoot at 1.4, but fantastic. Now, if we go outside or stay outside and we shoot some people, I'm going to actually get out of here and go into Lightroom. So these, my wife will love these because it's shots of her raking, right? This is, we'll go into develop here. This is where you see, this is the raw. We get, again, I'm looking for some color fringing, and you can see we get these little green color fringes that pop up on occasion back here. Is that big of a deal? No, we can probably get rid of a lot of that with some correcting inside here if we wanted to, just to kind of, you know, tone down those greens inside that. But looking at this photo, especially out at this distance, not pixel peeping down here, I'd say again, like it's a lovely image. And you know, the Sony ZV-E10 does give us a fair bit of ability to play around inside here depending on what we want. So we could brighten that up a little bit and bring up the little dehaze up there. I'm not going too crazy. Little saturation boost if you want to bring it down. Find out what we're dealing with, and take my oranges and tone them up. Let's see if we can change the oranges a little bit in that here, the orange, and just kind of give them a little bit of a ready pop there. But really easy to play with, you know. I'm a big fan, for one, of this lens. Now, the other thing to be aware of is, for those of us that have never shot with a portrait lens, distance plays a really big role. So you have to be, with a shot even like this, my guess is I was probably 6 to 10 feet away. Now that plays a big positive for a lot of us, because one of the things we don't want to do is have to get too close to our subject, because once we get really close to our subject, number one is that you get this kind of weird distorted view. Number two is it's just uncomfortable for the subject to have a camera that close to them. So being able to get back just allows your subject to just feel a little more at ease and more comfortable, which I really like, because I was quite a ways, and I don't even know if Mary knew I was taking pictures of her at this point in time. So quite nice, very, very happy with that. Another shot here of the motorcycle, because, you know, that's important. Here's the raw, and if we take this raw again, we'll just kind of bring up our shadows here just to kind of bring those out, bring our exposure up a little bit. Oh yes, it's getting lovely. Love it. Some clarity in there, a little bit of dehaze, just a tiny bit. Pop up some of that. Oh yes, right? Oh yes. That's quite nice. And again, looking into the corners here, right? We are getting a little tiny bit of purple creeping in there. But when you're looking at this at full size, it's not something you're going to notice. And the sharpness, though, across the whole bottom, in my opinion, like it's surprisingly good for, again, a lens of this price point. And we're shooting here, again, I believe at 1.4, and we won't be able to see anything really in the corners because the corners are kind of blurred out. Now, it isn't up here, and this line and everything's still nice and sharp. So I'm good with that. Very good with that. Last one, and something to just kind of be aware of, is again, a shot like this. I think we shot at about f2. If you look at a shot like this, you can see, I'll just bring up some of the stuff here, bring their exposure up a bit. There you go. You can see where it hits, right? Especially like in a spot like this, like that. Oops, that focus is rock solid inside there. But again, when you're shooting at like a 1.4 or an f2 or anything like that, you have to be aware that things go out of focus really fast, right? So that depth, depending on how close you are or how far you are, I was pretty much as close as I could get based on focus distance, which isn't overly close. It's probably close to, I'd say probably close to around 3 or 4 feet, close to around a meter, before if you get any closer, you lose focus. It's sharp. It's really sharp. You do get, like I said, you do get a little bit of fringing in some colors. I've seen it come up in some greens, and again, a little bit of purples, but it is very minor. And I think that as you play around with, especially sharpness, if you play around and get it from that 1.4 up to f4, f5, it gets even sharper. Like it gets substantially sharper. Not to say that it's not sharp at 1.4. It is very sharp. So I think it's good. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with this lens. Now, for those of you that care and are wondering what it's like to shoot like a little bit of video with it, we do have, I don't know if this mic is picking me up, we do have a video that we shot about a week ago, and I'll put a link to it probably here, in regards to shooting 1.4 with the Sony ZV-E10. You guys can go take a look. And just so you know, this angle, this shot right here, ZV-E10 with the Viltrox 56mm shooting at 1.4, So that's why I haven't had it in my hand. And just so you guys know, this is the little ZV-1. They match really good. I'm using, so you know, I'm using Picture Profile 3 because I just like the color that comes out of it and that little gamma tone. I like it. All right, guys, that's it for me today. This has been a look, so you can see some samples of the ZV-E10 using the Viltrox f1.4, which is fantastic. 56mm APS-C lens. I don't, you know what? It comes in around that $300 US mark. I really don't think you can go wrong. It's a great purchase, especially for those of us that want to save a couple pennies. Oh yes, my friends, that's it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the little notification bell, and we will see all you fine folks in another video. I'm hoping to get maybe some more lens. I'd like to get some of the wider lenses from Viltrox to test. Hopefully, we'll see what they say. Later, my friends.